So I played the Sea of Stars demo, and I gotta say, holy nostalgia. Lauded as the spiritual successor to Chrono Trigger, Mitsuda-san is involved in the sound production. Sea of Stars has the potential to take players back in time to the RPGs of the 90s, with gameplay that takes the foundation of games like Chrono Trigger and stamps its own signature of innovation in order to propel the genre further. I played this demo for a good 2 or so hours, and these are my first impressions. You can choose to play as either Zale or Valere. I chose to play as Valere, we'll call her Val for short, because I liked her swallow-like weapon, even though the game calls it a staff, more than Zale's flamed sickle-looking blade. She also reminds me of Tara Bradford. Val is a lunar monk, and Zale, when he's not moonlighting as a jewelry merchant, is a solar blade dancer. The two are joined by Garl, a warrior cook, so basically a gourmet hunter, who looks like a discount venom snake, except he still has both of his arms, no eye patch, and he's fairly happy-go-lucky about things. Like losing an arm wrestling battle to a cheating pirate, all the while remarking, "We broke a table? That was awesome!" Automatic demo S to your character. The game spends almost no time holding the player's hand, encouraging experimentation, or as I like to call it, baptism by fire. For those who need it, there are helpful tutorials in the pause menu for quick reference. I definitely had to look up how to fish, so I could understand why my line kept breaking. While exploring levels, your party is able to engage dynamically with their environment. They can climb, jump toward other platforms, jump off ledges, even high ledges, and they can even swim. I especially like being able to jump off of high ledges, as it's a total time saver. I enjoy being rewarded for exploration, for going off the beaten path with the desire of having that Legend of Zelda treasure sound playing in my head, only to discover an item that is hopefully useful toward my quest. Sea of Stars scratches that itch, encouraging me to explore, till I can't explore no more. Somewhere in the world, my English teacher just cringed. Sorry, Mrs. Adelbert. I found items just by covering every nook and cranny with an attention to detail learned from 2 decades of JRPG play. Around 10 to 20 minutes into the demo, the party fast forwards into a scene at a tavern inside of a seaside town that looks like Termina from Chrono Cross. The world building in the game is so good. The makers of this game did an excellent job alluding to other events and mysteries of the world. For example, some wind tunnels that the party went through with some ancillary characters are brought up like, "Oh, you sure fought valiantly in them there wind tunnels." Or these 2 sailors are trying to have a stick measuring contest about how far a monster was away from their ships while separately out at sea, making me think I'll encounter said sea monster in the full game. Or another character talking about the sleeping wind dragon that can be viewed in the world map. Outside of the tavern, when you build a fire, you can speak to a character who alludes to a ghost ship that appears at a specific area at a precise time of night due to a curse placed on the ship and its crew by the captain, probably foreshadowing a likely dungeon in the full release version of the game. I like that this game doesn't take itself too seriously. There's a pirate captain named Captain Cliché. During a speech from the captain, she says, "Get this undeath so-and-so trinket so I can..." Redacted for spoilers. Or the pirate's trusty mage, whose name is Keenathan, which I guess by having that name in this world makes him the next best thing since sliced bread, wears 2 eye patches, even though he has 2 fully functioning eyes. Or the description of the tomato ingredient reads, "The fruit you eat when the situation calls for vegetables." I chuckled at that one. There's even a blatant typo that I believe is intended to be a callback to translation errors that JRPGs used to be riddled with back in the day. Wow, I can't believe the 90s were 30 years ago. It's great to see a game that reminisces about 16-bit RPGs in its own quirky way. There are anthropomorphic people in this game. So far I've seen mole people, rat people, and some other sort of doggo-type people. It's a throwback to not only Chrono Trigger, but also Chrono Cross, and my dearly beloved Final Fantasy IX. And I'm sure there are other games, but I can't think of those games right now. What other games does Sea of Stars remind you of? Comment below. I tried moseying into the Coral Cascades, and Team Sabotage was nice enough to point out that while I can't play the area, I could listen to Mitsuda-san's first guest track for the game's OST. And I gotta say, what a jambino, especially this part here. The fishing minigame was a fun little deviation that I passed some time with. Going in, I had these Stardew Valley expectations. Hey, it's Future Wiz here. First of all, I want to say happy belated Valentine's Day, if you would point your attention to the top right corner. But that's not why we're here. If you direct your attention to the 3 characters in the bottom right, those are cargo characters. And they do things for the party that, as far as we can tell, is only story related. They are not playable, and it looks like you could have 3 per character. Alright, back to your program. I found 3 types of fish during my 2 separate sessions in 2 different areas of the game, and caught all of them. The fishing minigame lets you control how far you cast your line, when to arc your line, and which direction you cast while the lure is airborne, and it has this fun, time-sensitive quality to it. Once your lure splashes into the water, it makes this radius that attracts nearby fish who touch its perimeter. You then try to reel the fish into the glowing stream, I can see the words out of context Reddit forum now, to try and catch that fish. You can salvage each fish for cooking resources, which is important because outside of costly spells or combos that require MP, which you don't have much of in this game, cooked items become a healing staple that the player must take advantage of. There's also this challenging red-scaled behemoth of a fish that gives more resources if you manage to catch it. And catching a few of these rat bastards prepares you for a hidden side quest that you can stumble upon later in the demo. If you complete this side quest, you get a nice item to help buff out one of your glass cannons. In the distance of my fishing space, I noticed there were grains that could be picked, and I thought, oh yeah, I can pick those. And so I did. When I noticed I couldn't get one of these grains, wait, I could get the grain, because you can swim in this game. Immersive gameplay. The game's bonfire activity obviously reminds me of this scene right here. Cooking food while at a bonfire makes 16-bit about as gourmet as it can get. As you press and hold the A button to prepare your food, you get this haptic PowerPoint presentation of the prep work that goes into making your food item, followed by the cooking of the item, which makes you feel like you're actually involved in the process of making the items that will recover your party in battle. And while this task could get tediously repetitive, I had to make several cooking pit stops to remain battle ready, which is not a complaint. I did enjoy it. The game takes a step in the right direction by recognizing this early on and allowing you to cook multiples of the same dish while only having to press and hold the action button once. I didn't realize the value of cooking until about an hour into the dungeon featured in the demo. As Pastwiz noted, MP is scarce and therefore valuable. This is hinted at in the level up screen, where the maximum value I saw any of my characters being able to increase their magic points was only 2. Or if you look at Berry Jam, for instance, the cookable item that you can make to restore MP. This item only nets the party member of your choice a mere 6 MP. And while we're on this subject, leveling up is a neat experience that offers customization. The player can choose which stat they would like to focus bonus stat increases toward, a feature which entices multiple playthroughs. Seeing how Sea of Stars is a spiritual successor to Chrono Trigger, try saying that 5 times fast, I can't see why there wouldn't be a New Game Plus mode once the full game is completed. The demo's dungeon is some once famous wizard or another's arcane lab. It looks like the final dungeon from Final Fantasy V, the Interdimensional Rift. It has this really cool mechanic with these colored crystals that open portals where a different colored beam that you create makes a newly colored portal which leads to a new section of the dungeon. It's really clever, and if you know how a color wheel works, you can Roy G. Biv your way into a few hidden treasures. You have to spend time battling your way through the MC Escher-like dungeon, which takes time and requires planning. You'll be encountering tough enemies that challenge your knowledge of the battle mechanics, and this will deplete your health. And with healing items being a commodity, this will make you want to cook, rest, and then save by the fire as you progress through that dungeon. The bonfire acts like a sort of Persona 5 break room, complete with character rapport building conversations that make you feel like you're catching vibes with the homies. All the while planning your strategy to continue onward in the dungeon. You know what? Actually, this wizard's palace of a lab is the party's dungeon. The battle system seemed simple at first. After a few dungeon encounters when I nearly lost, it began to reveal its layers to me. Pressing the A button at the correct time during an attack makes a rewarding noise and causes extra damage. If you execute a well-timed block, you also get that same jingle, in addition to mitigating damage. It's a nice mechanic that borrows from the classic Super Mario RPG. If you hit enough timed attacks and defenses, the party's combo meter fills up faster, letting party members perform Chrono Trigger-inspired tag team special abilities. And this is important toward the end of the demo, as enemies become more and more difficult. Each attack, whether individual or combined, has its own unique attributes that sort of act like elements. At times, these same attributes will appear over enemies and appear as locks. Hit these enemies with the correct number of attributes in the duration of time allotted while they're casting a spell, or just in general, and you can eliminate said enemy from the battle without needing to deplete its HP. Attack or felled enemies also drop what is called live mana. Each character can absorb up to 3 live mana, boosting their next attack or spell. You can manage boosts like Bravely Default to unleash havoc upon your foes. I like this battle system. It conditions the player to coordinate and manage their attacks well. If the player doesn't manage their moveset, enemies can become overwhelming. One aspect of the battle that I didn't enjoy was party members dying. Instead of dying and needing to be revived, my defeated cast would faint for like 2 turns and then magically revive. It feels cheap. I acknowledge that my opinion of this mechanic could improve with time. It's difficult to get a full scope of how this works inside of the final product. One aspect I really liked in particular was how the game has spells or combos based on the player's timing. Similar to basic attack and defense timing, Val's lunar boomerang attack, aptly named the Moonerang, channels the spirit of a battle with Agnem. You might know him in later games as Ganondorf or whatever, where succeeding at the spell requires Val to perfectly time hitting her crescent-shaped energy wave as it volleys from each enemy on the battlefield back to her until the player times the attack incorrectly, which then allows for damage to take place based on the number of times the player pressed the A button correctly. Again, Mrs. Adalbert would absolutely hate these run-on sentences. The boss of this demo was a blast to fight once I had my battle fundamentals down pat. There's not much else I want to say about— oh wait, yeah there is. When you beat the demo, the game hints at a secret item that you may have missed if you weren't paying attention. First of all, way to get me to jump back into the demo, Team Sabotage. Secondly, this is a great message to read. It's a guarantee from the developers that paying close enough attention could earn you rewards. Thirdly, these hidden items cost more limbs than an Elric brother human transmutation gone wrong. My takeaway from playing the demo for another hour and some change beyond my initial playthrough, grinding tirelessly to earn enough cheese to be able to purchase even one of these hidden items, is that the game has an economy. Duh. And if the player utilizes some basic math, relentless resource hunting, and decent evaluation skills, that player can become a sort of pseudo-mint and effectively print money out of thin air for themselves. Kind of like any jrpg. It's not really that deep. It is cool, though. You see, Battle Gold is a resource that is limited to enemies disappearing forever once defeated, but you can craft and sell a limited amount of your healing items. The catch is that you have to find a way to sustainably make those healing items again and again. Maybe find a way to make the more expensive healing items so you're not devoting the next 30 to 40 minutes trying to make 200 gold, wink wink, hush hush, so you'll have enough money to Dogecoin yourself to the moon and back. This is an exaggeration, but I think you catch my drift. So yeah, I gleaned a lot from that demo. If you have a Switch, definitely download the Sea of Stars demo. If you have a compatible gaming system, definitely place this game on your radar. I'm looking forward to playing this game 100p. If you click on one of these, you can partake in all the Sea of Stars fun /help. If you've played the demo already, what did you like or not like about the demo? Thanks for watching, and please be sure to comment down below who your favorite character is and why it's Garl.